Okay, this video is a short guide on how to use the Good Play Guide to find out about developmental milestones. Now, when you first go to the goodplayguide.com, and here's the website up here, goodplayguide.com, you'll find that there's not a link that takes us to what it is that we want to be looking at. So I'm scrolling down, nothing really here that's very obvious. So the best thing to do is to look for it by entering into the search bar child development. Click the magnifying glass and it will come up with these search results. And what you want to do is to click on this one, child development and special needs advice. Click on that and it will open up this page. Now, this website has recently been changed, so it's a little bit more fancy than it was, but actually I don't think it makes it easier to use. The section we want to look at is here. So to make it nice and clean, click on that link, Milestones by Age. And it takes us to this part of the page. Now we can see this part already, but by clicking that link, it kind of tidies things up a bit. Now, developmental milestones by age. If you scroll down a bit, you can then select the age. Now I have to say, I don't particularly like the way they've set the page out now. There's an awful lot of stuff moving about and things, and it's quite distracting. So apologies for that, but it's still a good page despite their changes. So click on select age and you can see here it's opened up. So 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 12 to 18 months and so on, right up to 11 years and beyond. So let's look at 0 to 6 months. If we click on 0 to 6 months, so this is from birth to 6 months, give it a few seconds to open up. And this page opens and it tells us it's developmental milestones 0 to 6 months. Scroll down a bit and it tells us here a little bit of general blether about what's happening to a baby in that first 6 months. But it is very general blether. What we're looking for is something a little bit more specific because we want to know specifically what the social developmental milestones are or the physical developmental milestones. We want to be able to work out what these things are. And you can do that because if you look down here, if I scroll down a little bit, and as I say, I'm not too keen on the way they've created this page. They've changed it recently and it's not quite as easy to use as it was before. You can see you've got these headings here, cognitive, personal, social and emotional. And if you remember, we did say in last week's session that sometimes they'll put social and emotional together. Okay, so there's your cognitive, your social and emotional, physical. They've called it physical and motor. And also you've got your speech, language and communication. So if we think about our 5 strands of development, we started off with social. Well, it's in here. Speckle was social, then physical. The E was for emotional, so again that's in here. The C was for cognitive, so that's here. Now the reason this one's not flashing when I put my mouse over it is because it's already open. It's there. And the last strand of the speckled developmental needs and developmental milestones was L for language, and that's in here. So in these 4 first links here, we've got everything we need. Ignore creativity just now in understanding the world. These are important, but for the purposes of the unit we're doing, we're just going to concentrate on these 4 tabs here. And these 4 tabs cover our 5 areas of developmental milestones: social, physical, emotional, cognitive and language. So we're on cognitive already. So let's just remind ourselves where we're at. We're looking at the cognitive developmental milestones for a child aged 0 to 6 months. So let's have a look at what it says. It says in cognitive developmental milestones that babies' brains are developing rapidly and they're absorbing far more than some parents realise. It says, as our senses mature, connections are being made within the brain that will form the basis of memories, help them get familiar with routines, and make them feel safe and secure. Children are beginning to control and stabilize head movements, which allows them to stabilize a gaze when tracking objects and movements. Babies turn to diffuse light and show fixation. Eyes widen due to brightening, and attention is fixated. All of these things that are in bold, these are the developmental milestones. Now, note that some things you might never see as a parent. You're not going to see that the brain is developing rapidly. You're not going to see that they're forming the basis of memories, but these are what are happening. These are the things that are happening in this developmental stage. What else have we got? Their focus and concentration. All this stuff helps their focus and concentration, and babies will gradually start to become more and more aware of the environment around them. So it says babies love to play. This is a great way to support their development and learning. So by encouraging your children to play, give them brightly coloured toys that make noise or have different feelings when you touch them, is a great way to stimulate your child's cognitive development. And these are some of the cognitive milestones you might notice. Let's look at physical and motor, they've called it, physical developmental milestones. Now again, we're still looking at a child aged 0 to 6 months, birth to 6 months, but we can look at all these different milestones by clicking the different subheadings here. So physical developmental milestones, the muscles are very loose, but they'll be developing rapidly. They're starting to support their own head roughly about the age of 6 months. That's often the first sign of muscle control. Toys and floor play which encourage tummy time aid core muscle development. So if you can lay a child on its tummy just for a few minutes at a time, it has to lift its head up, and that's quite a difficult thing to do, so it's working its muscles the whole time. And it's also working its stomach muscles as well, so tummy time is a really good thing to do. What else have we got? Kicking and swatting movements will strengthen the legs and arm muscles. So these are gross muscle movements, okay? Gross muscle coordination, big movements. Gross just means big. They can't yet do the fine things like picking up a pencil or picking up coins or something like that. You wouldn't want a baby picking up coins anyway, because they might put them in their mouth and choke on them. But they can't do that pincer movement with their fingers. They can just use sort of big muscle movements, and that's called gross muscle coordination. Mirrors, moving objects and sounds all encourage a baby to lift his or her head, strengthen neck muscles. You get the idea. Everything that's bold, this is me highlighting it now, everything that's bold are things that could be milestones, okay? It says newborn babies have not developed fine motor skills at this early age, but they do have reflexes and can hold and grip onto fingers. So again, it's not fine motor skills, but they've got movement in their fingers and they can control it. If you give them something, they'll just grab it and clutch it. They've not got the fine motor control to, as I said earlier, pick up a pencil just with a couple of fingers and things like that. So if we look at social and emotional development, we'll click on this tab. Again, we're still looking, remember, at a 0 to 6 month old. So if you look here, you can see with their personal, social and emotional development, what's happening there. And finally, speech and language, or as we called it, our language development. Baby's first smile is the beginning of a lifetime of communication. It says here, even though it will be a while before baby speaks, talking to your baby and using natural speech patterns has been shown to help language development. So your baby has a need to develop language. It's got language needs. Speckle, remember the needs? Speckle. Social, physical, emotional, cognitive and language. Language development is really important, and well, if you're talking to your baby using natural speech patterns, it's helping that language development inside the baby's head. You might not see it yet, but soon you will. As the baby starts to copy the sounds you're making, that's a developmental milestone. And also, the rhythm of any music also facilitates language learning, listening skills, and can help children to relax. So everything they're hearing is helping with the development of language and communication. Okay, at 0 to 6 months, you might not really be aware of it. They might just say their first word. But everything you do, all the sounds you make, all the things you say, all the songs you sing to the baby will help in that development. So there's no real obvious milestones here that we can see. Maybe the first smile's one. There's no real obvious milestones that we can see, but they're coming. So that's how you use this website. So let's go back. Let's go back up to here. Now, to go back to where we were, if we click this link, right, Child Development and Special Needs Advice, click on that. Opens up the page we were on before. We go down. Again, we're looking for milestones by age. Let's select a different age. Let's go for 5 years. 5 years old. So selected age, 5 years. Click on that. It will open up the page for a 5-year-old. Okay, and we scroll down, and once again we'll find down here, here's your cognitive milestones, your personal, social and emotional milestones, your physical milestones and your language milestones. So again, you can read these things, okay? So generally speaking, most things that are in bold are the milestones. So investigative learning builds on trial and error. So now children are starting to try things out to work out what does work and what doesn't work. This one, interacting with others, will introduce them to the different opinions, rules, and methods. So children are starting to interact with other children. They're starting to find out that other children have different opinions. There's rules to what they're doing. And there's different methods, and that should actually go on to say methods of play. There you go. Okay, they're starting to realize that we're not all the same. We've got different ways of doing things, and they may struggle with this. They may struggle to understand there are different rules and opinions, and you might find them getting really stroppy and stuff. It says here they're not overly willing to adapt or adjust their ways just yet because they're just learning about the world. Anyway, you get the idea. We can use this website, and you will be using this website. We can use this website to find out about all the developmental milestones for all the different ages. And as you go through this this unit, you're going to be using this a lot. You're going to be sick of using this website because you're going to use it a lot. You're going to be on these pages a lot. You're going to be looking at different ages. Let's go 6 to 12 months. And you're going to be looking at all the different developmental milestones by clicking on these links down here. So I hope this video has helped. It's just to give you a wee sort of tour of the website or of the bits of the website we're going to be using. It is an excellent resource and you will definitely want to be using this as you're preparing for the assessment, and when you're doing the assessment you can use this website during the assessment. So make sure you know how to use it, make sure you know how to get to this place on the website, and have a go at it, become skilled at it, because it will really help you with the assessment. I hope that's been useful. Bye now.